So, the 4 reasons I'm opposed to reparations, coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Content Logical Reason. And as always, I'm going to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, it seems that this whole issue of the reparations argument will never end, and race hustlers will continue to use reparations as a means of keeping black people angry and enraged about race. You know, race is nothing but a drug, and the race hustlers are the drug dealers, and they have to keep black folks addicted to the drug, lest black people kick the habit. So, essentially, this is all reparations really truly is all about. It's just keeping black folks angry and enraged about race. And the thing about it, what makes it really worse is that it's not even about restoring black people. Because even, let's say, if black people were to get reparations, it's not like we're going to stop, that the blacks are the victims are going to stop crying. No, they're going to be still victims in America, still crying about being held back, still crying about all of the disparities and so on and so forth. So again, this is not even about making black people better or restoring black people. But anyway, I'm going to talk about why I am completely, totally opposed to reparations. And again, not to play around, to get straight to it. So the first reason why I'm opposed to reparations is, repair black people or restore black people to what? What can we be restored to in a country when we came to as slaves? It's not like blacks were, all blacks are free in America and prospering in this country, and then the white man decides to subjugate us and put us into slavery and take everything that we had. We came here as slaves. Okay, they paid for slaves. They bought here as slaves. Though people say, well, they got free labor from black people. No, they didn't get free labor. They paid for it. So if anybody who is to restore us, it would be the Africans, the black people in Africa that enslaved the ancestors who were sold to the white man. But how do you expect white people to restore us when we were bought here as slaves? That doesn't make any sense. So the idea of reparations in itself, and that from that standpoint, is ridiculous. Now, one of the excuses, of course, they'll use is, well, Asian people were restored. They got Asian reparations. Again, and the people who say this clearly don't know anything at all about Asian reparations other than what they existed. And it's the same thing as, as all the rest of the rhetoric. You got all these blacks who arm themselves with the examples of racist rhetoric, but they never can really defend it. But anyway, America can't restore us back to anything. I mean, the only thing they can do is put us back in slavery, because that's what we came to the country as. Anyway, now the second reason why I'm opposed to reparations is because black people today aren't owed any reparations. I mean, nobody today was ever a slave, and that was the purpose of reparations. And of course, the root word of reparation is to repair. Well, they wanted to give black folks, I wouldn't say a repair, but give black people some type of jump start after coming out of slavery. And that was what the 40 acres and a mule were per family. Well, the problem is that there's no black person alive today who was ever enslaved. So if you were never enslaved, then how can you say that you're owed reparation? Now, of course, people will say, well, the money, it could have been handed down, which is true. But then the problem with that argument is that you would have to trace your lineage to back to the people who your ancestors were the first who were free from slavery, and then transition whatever little money that could have came, what they could have gotten, whatever 40 acres and a mule was worth to a family, and then you have to genealogy check their family. Their children, right? If they had several children, well, then the children split that reparation up, and then their children split up what they got, and then so on and so forth until the oldest living people who are still alive today. And to do all of that, which means that honestly it would be worth really nothing. I mean, how much would these reparations really be in that regard if you're willing to go through all that? But then you'd have to go through all that in order to make a claim for reparations, because then what if one of your ancestors, as you say, owned slaves? Do they have to pay something? All right. Well, what if they were never enslaved and they were a free or black man? Should they have to pay something? I mean, should they get something then? So, like I said, it's a big convoluted bunch of nonsense. But the fact is that there's no black person today who was ever enslaved. So you can't receive reparations for something that you were not oppressed by. I mean, because if you were never impressed by being enslaved. Now, the third reason why I'm opposed to reparations, because honestly, truly, they won't really help black people. At least a good bit of black people. When I say most, I'm talking about a lot of the ghetto-minded blacks, because ghetto-minded black people certainly won't help them. Also, the average black person, if you give them money, most blacks, they say that, I saw a study that say that, when the dollar gets to the black person's hand in the black community, it bounces around the black community maybe one time before it leaves community. Other communities, they may bounce around, multiple times. And this is how they amass wealth. Well, if the money only bounces around the black community one time, what makes you think the reparations are going to stay in there? It's not. And furthermore, black folks are just going to go on a spending spree. As Cedric the Entertainer said, you give black people reparations and Cadillac is going to have record sales. And I say, not only a Cadillac going to have record sales, but you won't find a rim or a car stereo within 3-mile radius of a hood. Blacks gonna take that money, they're gonna spend on a whole bunch of butter, cars, clothes, jewelry, all the things that's valued in the hood. In the hood, a car with rims on it, 20-inch rims on it, is valued in the hood, but it's not really valued in the real world. But that's their sense of value, and that's where the money is gonna go. And then you also have the issue with women in general being terrible with money. So if you put this money in the hands of even decent black women, they're just going to spend it up. And how many blacks are going to take this money and really and truly invest it into something? Even if they got it, which they're not really owed it in the first place. But it's not going to help black people economically. They're going to get that money, they're going to spend it up, and then they're going to be back to crime. Now, the last reason, and I would say probably the most important reason, is that these reparations are going to do more harm than good. And what do I mean by this? Well, there's an old saying that money changes people. And I've heard this all my life, but I've come to realize that is incorrect. Money doesn't actually change people. Money actually allows people to be more of what they are. So you take any person and you give them an infusion of cash, they're just going to be more of what they are. If you give money to a business person, well, that person is good. You're going to allow that person to be more of a business person. They're just going to take that money and invest in their business, right? You put that money in the hands of an athlete training for the Olympics. Well, you're going to allow them to better train. You're going to be able to afford better supplements, better personal trainers, better facilities. In other words, to make themselves a better athlete. Right? You put that money in the hands of a shop monkey. The people who are in their shops where they're souping up their cars, kind of like the Fast and the Furious, have their little garage. You give these people this money, and you're just going to allow them to be able to soup up their cars more, have a better garage, right? You put that money in the hands of a crackhead. You think that money is going to make that crackhead life better? All you're going to do is just enable their habit, and they're going to buy more crack until that money's used up. It's not like giving them that money is going to just magically make them sober now and make them get off of crack or get off of drugs or whatever drug they're using. You just enable it in their lives, making them to be more of what they are. So if you put this money in the hands of N-words, or as people say, ninjas, because you can't say the N-word because you get silenced, somehow that word is offensive, but not if it's in music, because that's quote-unquote art. But anyway, you think you really want to put that money in the hands of N-words? They're already destructive. Everywhere they go, you have high crime rates, high murder rates. So you think that giving them money is just going to make them better? No, it's just going to make them more destructive. That's all it's going to do. If they're destructive now, you think that giving them money is going to stop the destructivity? It's just going to make them more destructive. They're going to be more likely to go rob somebody for their reparations and kill somebody for their reparations. It's just going to create more crime. So in that regard, reparations are going to cause more harm in the hoods and the black community than good. Now, certainly, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of black folks out here, depending upon how much the reparations it would be, including myself, would take that money and try to invest it in something. I mean, let's say they would give a black person $50,000 each. If they would give me a $50,000 check, that's going into my retirement. Me personally, but how many blacks would do that? Or if I can invest in, say, real estate or invest in a business or something, that's what I'm going to do with the money. But it won't be wasted. But then, unfortunately, that won't be most black people, and that's the problem. But see, the thing is, the real biggest problem is the mentality. If we change black folks' mentality, the mentality that's keeping so many black folks, quote unquote, down, not the white man, then black folks will already be building and producing this country, and there will be no need for reparations. But anyway, y'all, this is my reason why I'm just so opposed to this idea of reparations. That's not holding black people down. The lack of access to resources is not holding black people down. It's the poor mentalities of black people today. And what we're talking about is the new word is the foundation of black Americans. These are the black Americans who've been in this country since the beginning, not say blacks from Africa who migrated to this country later on in the 20th century or whatever. But these are all the blacks. The reason why the foundation of black Americans are suffering, quote unquote, suffering in America is because of our bad mentalities and the things that we do, not a system holding us down. Anyway, y'all, if you ever hear anybody cry about reparations, you know my stance on it and why I believe black people today don't really, or why I'm opposed to reparations. Again, these are the reasons why, and these are legitimate reasons why I see that reparations are a bad idea. Of course, everybody's gonna be different, but this is just my view. Anyway, y'all, it is always, until next time.